on a different.
Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the headlines of this hour. US President Donald Trump has stated that the US attack on Iran is advancing ahead of schedule, but warned that the conflict could last longer than the initial estimate of about a month. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that military action against Iran could continue for some time, but it won't last years. He also suggested that this campaign could pave the way for peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The Israeli military has reported that it shot down 2 unmanned drones that crossed into Israeli territory from Lebanon, part of rising cross-border tensions tied to the broader Middle East conflict. US President Donald Trump took to Truth Social to criticize former Presidents Obama and Biden's nuclear deal with Iran, claiming it would have led to a nuclear weapon 3 years ago. This comes amid escalating Middle East tensions. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney arrives in Australia to strengthen relations between the two nations as global tensions rise, focusing on defense, trade, and critical minerals. Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara held a phone conversation with Prime Minister of Pakistan Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif on the latest developments in the region amid the recent escalation, as the two sides jointly affirmed their commitment to develop Syrian-Pakistani relations amid heightened tensions in the region. Zimbabwe on Monday began releasing nearly 4,000 inmates who were granted presidential amnesty in a bid to ease overcrowding prisons. The cabinet announced the amnesty in February. On the same date, approved sweeping changes to the constitution as a plan to extend 83-year-old President Emerson Mnangagwa's term till 2030. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, has confirmed that the company is collaborating with the US Department of Defense to update their agreement, ensuring OpenAI services won't be used by intelligence agencies like the NSA. Now we start this hour with US President Donald Trump has sharply criticized former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden's nuclear deal with Iran. President Trump has claimed that if he hadn't terminated the deal, Iran would have developed a nuclear weapon years ago. President Trump's remarks came as tensions in the Middle East escalated. The US and Israel's airstrike campaign against Iran has intensified, with Israel targeting Lebanon in retaliation for Hezbollah strikes. Meanwhile, Tehran continues missile and drone attacks in the Gulf states, hosting US military bases. Trump has also warned that the military operation could drag on for weeks, and the leadership vacuum in Iran following the death of Supreme Leader Khamenei remains uncertain. Now we welcome Mr. Adrian Calamel. He's a terror scholar, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Calamel, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, you know what?
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Calamel. Now, as we see Trump emphasize that Iran was so close to nuclear deal or making a nuclear bomb, yet he earlier, last year, said that the Operation Midnight Hammer, obliterated that facilities or developments. Do you think there is a change in his stance of where Iranian nuclear capabilities lie now versus last year after Midnight Operation Hammer? What's your take?
That is a good question. I think he came out immediately after when there really was not much of a battle damage assessment and kind of declared victory, saying we obliterated it. When he said it at the time, I thought it was a little premature, and it turned out it was, because there were a couple of sites, Isfahan, Parchin, and especially the one site, Pickaxe Mountain at Natanz, that we're always going to be concerned. And sure enough, those are the sites that they need to go back and hit again. Pickaxe Mountain, to my knowledge, as of now, has not been targeted as of yet with the regime. But that I think the objectives were much more different with this campaign.
Right. And do you think why is he criticizing? Well, it's not new for him to criticize or trade blame towards past presidents. What do you think about his criticism for the past president's nuclear deal with Iran?
Well, I think it is absolutely fair to criticize the nuclear deal that Obama sold to us. He pushed it through an executive order. It was not pushed through Congress because it would not pass through Congress. And it was written by Ben Rhodes, who his major in college, even though he was crafted this deal, his major, he was a creative writing major. And the option that was sold to the United States was either you vote for yes for this, or pressure your congressional members that yes, or to this, or if you say no, you're going to have a nuclear weapon. When in fact what happened was it really just kicked the can down the road, gave the regime a bunch of money, and that was the state of the nuclear deal. It was bad all the way around. Now, as far as Trump saying, he could have prevented this years ago. I think he, during the 2 years of his, the last 2 years of his first term, he definitely did put the regime in a difficult spot with their nuclear program. But they were able to get back to kind of where they wanted to be just through the Biden administration's refusal to enforce sanctions on the regime.
And how do you analyze the difference between Midnight Hammer versus the Operation Epic Fury? Because to me, the target even seems different, because in Midnight Hammer, they only targeted, like you mentioned, Esfahan and a few other cities that are supposed to have these nuclear facilities. But this time it has Tehran, it has many other cities. What's this difference?
Yeah, it's the target package, what they're going after. It was very limited before to the nuclear sites at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. This initial strike was to, one, blind the regime, to confuse, and also to take away the retaliatory capabilities. So they hit IRGC bases, IRGC Control and Command, the Aerospace Division, which is involved with the communications for ballistic missiles and things of that nature. They took out naval sites. So it's really about degrading the regime's ability to the best of their ability to unleash havoc, diminish their ability to unleash havoc on the region. We're seeing the ballistic missiles flying to the UAE, to Bahrain, to Riyadh. We're seeing the drones. The initial phase was to reduce that. Now, what we have after a little over 2 days is that we have air dominance. We control the skies. So that's going to be, now we're going to start to see, I would imagine, more Natanz, Pickaxe Mountain, those sites being targeted, those nuclear sites in particular being targeted. But now, the initial phase was to, wipe out the command structure, so it caused confusion as far as response goes, who's in control, and then also to gain air dominance so that they can go run through their target package as the Air Force and Navy and the CENTCOM goes through it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalmel, for sharing that deep insight with us. Please do stay with us as we'll come back to you. Now, looking at Iran, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has called on regional countries to pressure the U.S. over its strikes on Iran. Araghchi has emphasized that Tehran is not at war with regional nations, but warned that U.S. military bases across the Middle East are legitimate targets. Meanwhile, Israeli forces successfully intercepted Iranian missile barrages early today, marking the fourth day of the ongoing U.S.-Israeli military campaign against Iran. Joint operations launched over the weekend have expanded with no end in sight as Israel retaliates against Hezbollah and Tehran continues missile and drone attacks. In a separate incident, objects fell from the sky in Qatar following missile interceptions. The Pentagon has released new footage showing U.S. aircraft operations, including B-1 bombers, striking deep inside Iran. The conflict shows no signs of de-escalating, with 6 U.S. service members reported killed. Meanwhile, Marco Rubio has warned Iran that it will face the hardest hit. He has also added that regime change is not the U.S.'s agenda, destroying ballistic missile capabilities is. Now let's hear what Marco Rubio has shared.
اینکه ما بخوایم جنگ رو منطقه‌ای بکنیم، اصلا جنگ منطقه‌ای خواهد شد. به این علت ساده که پایگاه‌های آمریکا و تأسیسات آمریکا در کل منطقه ما پراکنده هست. خب وقتی آمریکا به ما حمله میکنه توسط جنگنده‌هاش، توسط ناوهایی که میفرسته، اونها خب به خاک ما دسترسی دارن، توسط انواع و اقسام موشک‌ها و جنگنده‌ها اینها حمله میکنن. ما به خاک اونها دسترسی نداریم، ولی به پایگاه‌های اونها در منطقه دسترسی داریم و از نظر ما پایگاه‌های اونها یک هدف مشروع به حساب میاد. اما الان وضعیت فرق میکنه. ما با کشورهای همسایه طرف نیستیم، با نیروهای آمریکایی موجود در پایگاه‌های مستقر در خاک این کشورها طرف هستیم و با آمریکایی‌هایی که به هر شکلی دارن به ما هر روز و شب حمله میکنن و اسرائیلی‌ها البته. و اینکه پایگاه‌های آمریکا در منطقه بخوان سربازان تخلیه بشن، برن مثلا تو هتل‌ها مستقر بشن، خب طبیعی هستش که این خودش یک موضوعیت پیدا میکنه. ما به هر شکل و هر شیوه از خودمون دفاع میکنیم، از مردم.
Now we welcome back Mr. Adrian Calmel. He's joining us live from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Calmel, for staying with us. Now, we're hearing, foreign ministers say that all the countries in the region are legitimate targets, but they're not in war with them. What are we supposed to make of this situation? It seems to me like what he's saying and what the Iranian forces are doing or attacking is there's a difference.
Yeah, it's rather rich that he's saying that. He's saying he's just targeting U.S. bases, but he's hitting high rises in Bahrain. He's hitting the Gulf states have united against this regime. They know that, the UAE, the amount of interceptions that they've done as far as drones and ballistic missiles go, I think it's getting close to 1,000. This is part of what we're not seeing. There's a lot of coverage about the launches at Israel, but the whole idea of, we're not targeting you, we're just targeting our U.S. bases. Well, either that means you're lying, number one. Number two, your ballistic missiles are horrible because they're just not hitting the intended targets. Or, we're doing it, we're pressuring you, and we want you to pressure the United States. And that's not happening. What it's doing, it's pulling them all together. And there's talk about them taking kinetic action against the regime in response now. Again, another miscalculation by the regime.
Do you think that there's also a misjudgment or misalignment within Iran between the IRGC forces and foreign minister?
I think that may be true with some aspects, but this was the plan that was laid out. If you looked at their social media, what they said, what their top propagandists were saying, the message was loud and clear. If the United States attacks us and you have a base in that country, we are going to attack you. We are going to turn the region into fire. We're going to rain fire down on everybody. And they're holding true to that promise. So, secretly behind closed doors, and I think now a little more overtly, the Gulf or the GCC countries, they're coming together and they're aligning. And even Qatar, which shares in a gas field and derives the majority of their wealth from with the Islamic Republic, is strongly condemning them and realizing that they're not our ally right now at this point.
Thank you very much for highlighting that, and please do stay with us as we have more breaking news coming in. Now, Saudi Arabia's defense ministry has announced that its air defense systems successfully intercepted and destroyed 8 drones near the capital, Riyadh. In the city of Al-Kharj, Major General Turki Al-Malki, a spokesperson for the ministry, has confirmed the operation via a statement on social media platform X. The drones were intercepted as they approached the city, securing Saudi Arabia's airspace. This comes as the kingdom remains on alert amid increased regional tensions. More details will follow as the situation develops. Now we have another breaking news. President Donald Trump has suggested that the United States will retaliate soon after its embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was struck by 2 suspected Iranian drones. In an interview, Trump has said the American public would find out soon how the U.S. plans to respond, but did not provide any further details. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh has confirmed the attack, which caused a limited fire and minor material damage. Following the strike, the embassy issued a shelter-in-place alert for U.S. citizens in Riyadh, Jeddah, and Tehran. Now we welcome back Mr. Adrian Calamel. He's joining us live as a terror scholar from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Calamel, for staying with us. Now, how do you analyze this escalating situation in the Middle East? Do you think they are going to, all of these countries in the Middle East will be dragged into this conflict now?
I don't know if they're going to be dragged into it. I don't know if they're going to take action. What I will say is that I do believe a lot of them are going to allow us to start using their bases, which was before this conflict. They were saying, no, we will not allow you to use our bases. You can't even transit through our airspace. That's all going to change, and that gives us more freedom of action in the battle space. The targeting of Riyadh, and then also, the United States coming out and Trump saying that there's going to be a response to the death of the 6 service members. There's one area that's of interest to me that really kind of wasn't targeted much during the 2 years of the conflict in Gaza, even though the proxies did act up there. And there's been real concern inside the Green Zone, and that's in Iraq. I wonder if, as far as regional spillover, I don't think it's going to be regional spillover. I think the regime and the proxies that are associated with it are going to be more and more isolated, and you're going to see the countries that, like the GCC countries, Jordan, you name it, start to come around to the side of the United States.
Thank you very much, Mr. Calamel, for sharing that insight with us. Please do stay with us. We have another breaking news coming in from Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated on American TV news that the United States and Israeli military campaign against Iran would not drag on forever, but it is intended to be a short, decisive push. Netanyahu has called the conflict not an endless war, but rather a gateway to peace, and said he believes there is a lasting path to peace in the Middle East if the campaign achieves its objectives. His comments come amid continuing strikes and retaliatory attacks across the region in the widening war with Iran, with both sides exchanging military actions in multiple countries. Now we welcome back Mr. Adrian Calamel. Thank you very much, Mr. Calamel, for staying with us. Now looking at this, in the beginning they said this Operation Epic Fury is for 4 days, and now they're saying it might become longer. Trump has said it might become like a month, and now Netanyahu is saying this. What's your take on, this? How long can this conflict last? And also, do you think there's a difference of, once again, analysis of this situation between Trump and Netanyahu?
Yeah, I think if you look at what they were able to accomplish within 48 hours or so, I would expect that the time frame would probably be about 4 to 6 weeks. I think they are achieving their objectives, and now that they have air supremacy, the other objectives, such as reducing the IRGC, eliminating besiege bases, eliminating the MOIS, taking care of the rest of their Navy, encouraging defections while this is taking place. My hope, we can't see this, but on the ground, there's probably people working with groups, I wouldn't say dissident groups because they're inside the country, but groups that have been targeted by this regime that are part of this opposition, the people in the streets. It could be a bunch of students that are being coordinated with. So, it's very early days in this operation. I hate to say and put a timeline, and when people say, I saw they tried to pin Trump, Rubio, Hegseth, and the general on a timeline, and you don't put timelines into a battle plan. But in realistic speaking, I would say this is a 4 to 6 week campaign battle. If you put in a artificial or arbitrary withdraw date or drawdown date, that just tells the enemy exactly when you are going to pull yourself off the battlefield.
Thank you very much for sharing that and staying with us throughout our news, Mr. Calamel. Thank you. Now we have another breaking news coming in. The U.S. Embassy in Islamabad has announced the cancellation of all visa appointments due to the current security situation in Pakistan. The cancellations will affect the embassy in Islamabad as well as the consulates in Karachi and Lahore, with the order remaining in effect until March 6th. This decision follows a deadly outbreak of violence in Karachi, where at least 10 people were killed when security forces opened fire on demonstrators storming the U.S. consulate. The protests were sparked by reports of the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in a joint U.S.-Israel airstrike. Tensions are mounting in the region, and authorities are closely monitoring the unfolding crisis. The U.S. Embassy has not yet clarified if further measures will be taken based on security conditions. Now we move on to a world report. Bill Clinton has testified before the House Oversight Committee, denying any wrongdoing during his interactions with Jeffrey Epstein. The former president has stated that he never witnessed any criminal activities linked to Epstein. Clinton has also exonerated his wife, Hillary Clinton, saying she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. This testimony marked the first time a former president was compelled to testify before Congress. Meanwhile, the committee's Republican chairman, James Comer, has rejected calls to subpoena Donald Trump despite pressure from Democrats. However, Clinton's closed-door deposition follows growing scrutiny over Epstein's connections. Let's listen into what the former U.S. President Bill Clinton has shared.
Democracy requires every person to play their part, and I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree civilly and search for the truth and justice, and that outweighs the partisan urge for spectacle and point scoring. I will do my part, and I hope you'll do yours. The second reason I'm here is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both. Through my brief acquaintance with Jeffrey Epstein, though it ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication of what was going on, I'm here to offer what little I know so I can do my part to prevent something like this from happening again. I have to just say one personal thing. Since Hillary came in yesterday, she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein.
Now we welcome Dr. Satoru Nagao. He's a fellow at Hudson Institute, joins us live from Tokyo. Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for joining us. Now looking at this, how significant is this development that Bill Clinton has testified, and also what do you think when he said, in U.S. he wants U.S. A country to become once again a place where the disagreements between far right and far left can occur in a civil manner, now that we are seeing the rise in extreme right and extreme left?
In this case, what President Clinton said was just denying his involvement of the Epstein crime. And this is expected, and so that's why there is nothing new. But view from the picture, view from the video, it is true that President Clinton was a customer of Epstein, because the victims just side of him in the bus, and so that's why it looks like he is main customer of him. So that's why it relies on the investigation, not this testimony. So, but this is under investigation, and information as published is not enough to prove he was involved in this crime. And there is a possibility that he was a customer, but he did not know this, whether this is a crime or not. So that's why still this is under investigation. But the view from the election, it will happen in November, which is a midterm election. So that's why former President Clinton, who is a leading person of the Democrats, involved this Epstein scandal. It's not a good image in the election, it is true. So that's why the testimony itself is needed, but at the same time, not revealed anything. But at the same time, anyway, it will affect the midterm election, I think.
Thank you for highlighting that, Dr. Nagao. Please do stay with us as we have another breaking news to take. Now, a large explosion has been seen in the southern suburb of Babda, Lebanon, early this morning. With huge plumes of smoke rising into the sky, anti-missile launchers were also seen firing as Israel attacked Lebanon in response to strikes by Hezbollah. Israel's military has announced it had struck a senior Hezbollah militant in Beirut, but provided no further details. This comes after Israel declared Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem a target for elimination. While the conflict escalates, officials have said a ground invasion of Lebanon is not currently under consideration. Meanwhile, Lebanon's government has banned military activities by Hezbollah. Now we have another breaking news coming in from Hezbollah. Hezbollah has claimed responsibility for its latest barrage of rockets and drones on Israel, describing it as a defense act after more than a year of Israeli strikes, despite a ceasefire in a statement issued just after midnight. The Iran-backed militant group has said Israel's aggression against Lebanon had continued for 15 months, resulting in killings, destruction, and criminal acts. Hezbollah has stated that the attack on a military barracks in Israel was a legitimate right. The group did not mention the recent death of Iran's supreme leader in this message, contrasting with the previous statement. Now we have another breaking news coming in from Israel. The Israeli Defense Forces have released a statement confirming the elimination of Abu Hamza Rami, the commander of Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the Lebanon sector. Rami, responsible for carrying out hundreds of terrorist attacks against Israeli civilians and IDF troops, was also involved in recruiting, training terrorists, and procuring weapons. He managed the Palestinian Islamic Jihad's operations along the Syria-Lebanon border. During Operation Northern Arrows, the IDF states that his elimination has severely degraded PIJ's ability to execute future terrorist operations against Israel. Now we welcome back Dr. Satoru Nagao. He's joining us live from Japan. Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for staying with us. Now, how do you analyze the current escalating situation between Lebanon and Israel, especially regarding Hezbollah's statements and Hezbollah's attacks?
Hezbollah is a proxy of the Iran, so that's why when Iran faced a crisis, Hezbollah tried to support Iran. But their military power is very limited because last some years Hezbollah fight with Israel and lost most of the weapons. Of course, during the ceasefire, they increase weapon again, but stock is very limited, I think. The problem is, even if Israel can eliminate the military capability of the Hezbollah, Hezbollah's supporters still strong mindset to support Hezbollah because Hezbollah has some civil support system. And in this case, some certain number of the people rely on the Hezbollah's this civil purpose system, so simply assistance system. So that's why they are quite loyal to Hezbollah. So eliminating military power and or the disbanding the group is different things. Eliminating military power is some certain level, Israel damage the military power. But as a group, Hezbollah will continue because of this civil assistance system. That will happen. So that's why if the organization continue in the future, they will recover the power, could happen. So that's why military operation is needed and eliminate military power is effective, but at the same time, this is not the end of this conflict. That is also true.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Now we move on to our next news. To tech news, OpenAI Chief Executive Sam Altman has announced that the company is working with the U.S. Department of Defense to modify their agreement in a post on social media platform X. Altman has explained that the updated deal clarifies that OpenAI's services will not be used by intelligence agencies such as the NSA without a future contract modification. The deal also addresses the deployment of OpenAI technology in the Defense Department's classified network. These updates come after OpenAI reached an agreement last week to provide AI services to the Pentagon. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.